Good morning. We continue with the lecture of The Treasure Within. Page number 29. Till last lecture we got to know that Hafiz the contractor had to learn French because he had to continue in that college, he had to learn French. So he goes to his cousin's place, whose husband is an architect, to learn French. Page number 29 we begin. So I thought, okay, I will take French, and I started learning French again. I learned it from my cousin. She was an architect's wife. I was going to an architect's office to learn French. Was it then that you decided you wanted to do architecture? So if that, the interviewer is very inquisitive to know, at that moment did you decide when you went to the architect's house that you want to become an architect? Actually, it all happened quite by chance. In the architect's office, I saw somebody drawing a window detail. A window detail is a very advanced drawing. Now, when you take up architecture, the drawings are very intricate and very detailing, and you need to be very precise in what measurements you take and what is the angle of every corner you draw has to be perfect. So he has no idea about the drawing, but he says something which actually startles the person over there. In the architect's office, I saw somebody drawing a window detail. A window detail is a very advanced drawing. I told him that his drawing was wrong, that the window he had drawn would not open. He then had a bet with me, and later he found that indeed his drawing was wrong. My cousin's husband was surprised. He asked me to draw a few specific things, which I immediately did. He asked me to design a house, and I designed a house. After that, he told me to drop everything and join architecture. We went to meet the principal of the college. The principal warned me, I will allow you to take part in the entrance exam, but if you do not do well, I will not allow you to join. That was the clause which the principal put in front of him. I got A+ in the entrance examination, and from that day it was a cakewalk. Cakewalk means it was an easy task. So because he was good in that aspect, it was very easy for him to crack the exam. I had never made a plan, but I knew somehow something looked like from the top. Now you have got, in maths also, if you see, you have to draw the side view, top view, angular view. So these kinds of drawings are very tough, and it's not everybody's capability to, it is not in everybody's capability to draw these things, but he was good at it. I had never known what a section was, but I knew if you cut a plan, it would look like, what it would look like. I stood first class throughout after that. I believe that all this understanding came from what I used to play or do during school. I had a friend called Behram Divecha. We used to have competitions between us for designing forts. Forts, you know, these are monumental buildings, guns and ammunition. So they used to have competition amongst each other to draw these things. Each of us would design something in an effort to be different. So when you have competition, you definitely do a good job out of it. In school, when I was in the 2nd or 3rd standard, one of my teachers, Mrs. Gupta, saw my sketches and told me, see, you're useless in everything else, but your sketches are good. When you grow up, you can become an architect. I did not know at that time, but she was right. Later, after I became an architect, I went back to meet her and tell her. So he had that modesty in him that he remembered all that stuff what his teacher had told him. He was very bad at the other things, but he was very good at drawing. So she had advised him to take up drawing, take up architecture as a profession. So he went back to show his gratitude to her advice. Why do you think you did not like studies? Was it because you felt you could not cope, could not deal with the curriculum? So now the interviewer is desperate to know why, when he was good at sports, when he was good in drawing, why did he have an aversion towards the studies, towards the curriculum? I was very bad at languages. Science and geography I could deal with, maths was very bad. I just was not interested. I was studying for the sake of studying. What they taught me today, I would forget after 2 days. I would not bother because there was no application of mine there to begin with. Now studies, Indian studies, I would say, has a backlog, has no practicality. Most of the times it doesn't have a practicality. You don't have to go to a computer software hub and then decide what's the cube root of something or square root of something, or nobody will tell you to divide something or add something. Application knowledge of our subjects are very less. Like I would say literally no application of what we are studying. This guy also had the notion in his mind that if there's no application, he did not remember anything at all. And if there is something practical to do with the studies, he would remember in a better way. Did you think what they taught in school was boring? Or did you feel that once you understood the concept of what was being taught, you lost interest in the rest of the lesson? So this is what is the question which is springing up in the interviewer's mind. Living in a boarding school is difficult. We were just living from day to day. Nowadays there are so many tests. Back then, whenever we had tests, we used to just copy. The teacher thought that we had done our work. Nowadays you have various parameters on which you are judged. You have assignments, you have projects, you have written tests, you have oral tests, you have to sometimes write poems, you have to give speeches, everything you're marked on. You have variety of assessment categories nowadays, but then only like 2 terms, 3 terms used to be there, and if you scored well at that time, the teacher would think that you've learned well. There is a contention that giftedness and learning disabilities go hand in hand. Do you think this applies to you? So the interviewer asked him, like, those who are gifted will definitely do very well. I have an example to give of my own life. My best friend was the topper of the school of 10th standard, Richa Rathi, and she had scored in ICSE, which is one of the most difficult exams to crack, and we were the last batch which had given 3 years exams curriculum in 10th standard. So we had actually given 8th, 9th and 10th full portion exam in 10th. She had topped the exam with flying colors over there, and she got a whooping score of around 98%, I think so. So we had very high hopes that she would become a doctor or an engineer, because that's what people categorize into, right? Like if you do very well, either you will become a doctor or an engineer. So I really thought that she would become some heart specialist or some very good surgeon or a neurologist or something. But after many years when I got to meet her, she's become a dentist. Now then I felt a little taken aback. Giftedness, she was very gifted, she was very sharp. I don't know what led her to dentist rather than taking up a much more complicated profession in that particular field. I was amazed. So even a gifted child and even a retarded one, like a person who's not retarded, I would say, a person who's got learning disabilities. So a person who finds it very difficult to learn things, a person who finds it difficult to accept things, to understand things. She asks them whether they go hand in hand, like do they have a role play in the learning process. Well, take some students from my class. Those who always stood first or second and are doing very ordinary jobs today. So that's what I exactly said. They excel in their academics, and when it came to practicality of their life, they failed. I have come across this situation in so many different places where people tell me that their class toppers are doing very ordinarily today. Same goes with my example, what I just cited. In school, I think our lives there made us street smart. I have learned more by doing what I did on my own than what academics would have taught me. So this is how this boy studied. He was literally into the practical work more rather than the theoretical way. So when he got the practical knowledge, he did very well in his life. Though education played a major role in it, I won't say he became an architect on his own. He had to take a degree, he had to learn how to make those sketches, those drawings, how to present his entire this thing. He had to learn, he had to do internship also. So education has helped him, but when it comes to the basic level, I too feel theoretical knowledge will not help. That is because the personality and skills were there. He had the personality and he had the skills also. You were able to find expression in a manner you were comfortable with, and you defined every rule so that nobody would stop you from doing what you needed to do. Many of them came and hampered him, totally, hampered his growth by saying that you could not do this, you could not do this. But there were only two people who promoted him, the principal and the teacher, who had seen the spark in him that he could become an architect. I was more interested in other things. If, for example, while in class it started raining outside, I would think of the flowing water and how to build a dam to block it. I would be thinking about the flow of water within the dam and how much water and the dam would be able to hold. That was my interest for the day. So this guy was always thinking out of the box. He did not confine himself to be a frog in the pond. He wanted to explore what was going on outside, and that too in a very practical way. He never went the theoretical way. When students lost a button while playing or fighting, they would come running to me and I would cut a button from them from the chalk using a blade. So now a lost button, the teacher is going to take you to task. That how come you sitting in the class without a lost button? So when they used to fight and they used to lose a button, he would make a button out of a chalk piece, like cut it vertically and then make holes in it and then attach it to the shirt, and the teacher wouldn't even come to know that the button was missing. Discipline in the school was very important, and no student could afford to have a button missing. The student would get past dinner with full neat uniform, and after that it did not matter at all. So if in boarding school, if you are not well dressed, you get punishments many times you can get punished. So if you were not to be wearing a shirt without a button, then definitely dinner would be at stake or something. But if you would have the button intact and you would just see to it that you have your dinner and move away, then you were at no stake. Coming to the present, how do you decide as to what kind of structure you want to give a client? So now, depending upon all his knowledge, what kind of a structure does he want to give the client is the question. I look at the client's face, his clothes, the way he talks and pronounces, the way he eats, and I would like to know what his taste would be like. So this is actually seeing what kind of personality that person's got, noticing how much of money does he have. Habits show you as a person. If I put a beggar at the table, if I put a laborer at the table, if I put myself and I put Tata Birlas at the table, all four will have different style of eating. All four will have different style of talking. Because we come from different classes, lower middle class, a lower class, upper class, middle class, upper middle class, high class. So we are totally different. So we follow different eating habits. The way we eat and the way we speak, everything differs. So he observes in the client what that client is, and then he comes to an inference over there that what kind of a structure can I give him depending upon his pocket also. I can relate to people in a way that would be comfortable. I sketch very spontaneously on the paper on the spot. That paper I give to the people in my office. You do it instinctively. So she's very the interviewer is very ethical. Instinctively you do it, like your instincts tell you how it is to be done. Call it instinct, call it arithmetic, whatever. Now it comes to me like mathematics, putting design, construction, psychology, sociology together and making a sketch, all from that is mathematics. So now he's bringing in mathematics, his favorite subject, which he couldn't excel at all in. So he says, what is mathematics? It's analytical knowledge of everything, every aspect, may it be trigonometry, may it be geometry, may it be algebra, anything at all. Bringing it together is mathematics. So you see a person's behavior, understand the psychology of the person, how the person is behaving, and all that comes. Sociology, what all are his habits, the client's habits. Tell him actually what kind of a structure he would like. Typical of people. आप अगर एक बोलोगे, एक हेल्प बेगर को बोलोगे कि बेटा यू टेल मी व्हाट काइंड ऑफ अ हाउस यू वुड लाइक टू हैव, डेफिनेटली ही विल थिंक ऑफ अ झोपड़ी ओनली, ओके, ऑफ अ कच्चा हाउस ओनली. सो बट लाइक you would not build a kacha house for him, but you know he's got a notion in his mind, might be a village kind of a house, so he will have that particular idea. The Hafiz had this kind of an idea, looking at the people's behavior and the social pattern and all, that they would like this kind of a architectural design. Here we almost come to a full circle where Mr. Contractor has derived his own interpretation of mathematics, taking it from a subject he hated to subject he loves now dealing with. So if you are scared of some subject, it will haunt you throughout the life. But if you make the subject your friend, then definitely it's going to help you out. So the moral of the entire interview is that love, do what you love and you're very good at. Do not become something else because somebody else desires you to be that. Whatever is inbuilt in you will remain with you throughout the life. Whatever is forced upon you will not be that good. If you've seen Three Idiots movie also, the person who tops, like he comes second, he is working in a multinational company, but he has to go to the topper, and because the topper actually understood the concepts and he did not learn it by heart, and he brings into practicality, he goes for patenting his products over there. So success comes to you, but you need to listen to your heart as to where do you want to put your interest in, what is your own inner strength, what is the treasure within for you to, it is for you to explore. Fine, I'll be sending you the question and answers. You can take it in the textbook only.